pushing you to your limit. Hi, I'm Melissa. Welcome to Beyond the Brink. This show focuses on the global events that are pushing people to the limit and driving them to the brink of change. If you're watching us on YouTube and Rumble, please like, share, and subscribe to help us grow our channel. If you're listening to us on the radio, you can catch our previous episodes by going to our website at vitabroadcastnetwork.com or find us on various podcast platforms such as Spotify and audio.com by searching our handle at Vita Broadcast. Today, Christy and I have an exciting show for you. Today we have a special guest and his name is Lewis Jackson. Lewis is a popular YouTuber and the host of the No Emotion podcast. Not only is his channel entertaining, it's informational, covering subjects everything from life lessons and cryptocurrency to CBDCs and the current banking collapse. If you've had a chance to catch any of his work, it's pretty evident that he has a desire to educate others on the exciting opportunities in the digital asset space and what that could mean for our future. We're excited to have Lewis here on Beyond the Brink. Lewis, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So, you know Melissa, obviously. Yep. I'm Christy. Yep. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, both in E versions.
Exactly. Yes, so great to have you here.
We're so happy to have you here. Thank you very much. So please tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started. We kind of want to know a little bit about you.
Okay. I guess I'll go back to earlier days because for context, like later on, stuff starts to make sense. Where I've always been a kind of an athlete. We have a sport in the UK. It is in the States, but it's mainly like a European thing. It's called squash.
Oh, yes.
I played very high level squash, and that kind of moved into tennis slightly. So I played kind of, I just played a lot of sports. Anything with a ball, it was kind of okay. What's funny is that with squash, I ended up having to travel quite a bit, or at least there was a prospect of traveling when I was 12 at the time. So I was playing in like the national under 12s, and I stopped playing squash because I didn't want to travel that much. A few years later on, I picked up golf quite late at the age of 13, and that ended up taking me all around the world. So I kind of stopped squash to start golf. Golf became my whole life for probably a period of 6 years, 5 or 6 years, where I didn't take a single day off, including Christmas, New Year's, even on vacation. It was every day.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it still, even though the twisting is such an odd motion for me now.
When you're in your 30s now, Lewis, it gets a little harder, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've noticed that, but I'm doing everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. But that might be a conversation for later. But yeah, I've kind of had this obsessive personality, I would put it that way. When I get into something, I really get into it, and there's nothing you can say. Nothing. I've never like succumbed to peer pressure or anything from friends. I've always kind of had like a focus, to my detriment at times, because at times I didn't go and have fun with everyone else.
Yeah.
But I think overall it's like a net positive.
I think we would agree with that. We're in good company that way.
Right.
We're all a little bit obsessive.
In fact, Ryan and I last night had that conversation with when I want to do something, I just go for it and I do it, and there's nothing that's going to stop me.
That's right.
If it ends up hurting me, when I decide I want to move my office around, I just get that thing and I'm just doing it, and I'm like, what am I even doing right now?
Exactly.
So what pushed you to the brink to start your YouTube channel?
Well, I'll let you into a little bit of a secret. This channel is probably the latest of 9 channels. So I've been creating content. I can remember putting out videos in 2012.
Okay.
I remember that. And I can't remember there being a specific point where I was like, oh man, I love this. But I think there's just, with that many years under my belt with making videos, and I still love it. There's something to that. I have since kind of realized, because I've done a lot of reflection recently, trying to figure out, because I think sometimes if we don't reflect on where we've come from or who we are as people, we actually hit a barrier, a ceiling to where we can go. And I felt like there were limitations that I was kind of putting on myself, maybe, that were acting as a ceiling. And upon kind of self-discovery and self-understanding, I've kind of realized that there's two core elements to the things I love the most, and that is video, but more creative. So, because I have lots of ideas that I don't have the skill set to kind of implement. So creativity and business. These are two things. I've started endless businesses since university as well. Just kind of, that's been a running theme as well, and they've all involved video. I also come from a very educational background. Like all of the jobs that I've liked in the past have all been educational based, in schools, actually in schools. And that kind of led to a point where I was in another job as a speech therapy assistant, speech therapist. That was the job that I left to do this. Where there was quite a lot of pressure on me to do that from my family, because I'd skipped around. I'd been a photographer, videographer, social media guy. I'd done everything under the sun without having any real direction. And when I returned back to speech therapy, which is what I got my degree in, my whole family rejoiced. Everyone was like, he's finally on track. And I was starting from the bottom as a 30-year-old, starting truly from the bottom of the ladder, kind of almost giving in and accepting that all of the efforts so far have not done anything. And what's really interesting to me is that despite all of that, I have this thing in my head, in my gut, I shouldn't be doing this. Like I'm gonna do something more. And it just got to a point where, I picked up a bit of momentum with the YouTube channel. Finally, a YouTube channel that I'd made was starting to get traction, and I loved doing it, and I was educating. So it's like it combined all the things that I've enjoyed, but I've actually seen some success this time. And I remember very, very vividly. It was only about maybe a year ago. I sat in my car at lunch, because I have to wear this lanyard, and there was something about wearing a lanyard, putting on the lanyard, that made me feel like a fraud. I can't explain it. I don't know that I actually have the words, but it used to be this gut-wrenching feeling. It's like, I can't believe I'm doing this, and it was every day. And so I had
with that, Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to meet people who understand that feeling too, because I think people have that feeling,
Right.
but there's no action to follow it.
Right.
And it's kind of like a giving up, and I couldn't give up, keep doing it. And so I got off a phone call. There was some brand deal that I was working on, and it was triggering all my creativity. I was like thinking of ways to do it and stuff. And the contract for that came through, and I looked at it and I thought, that contract, I'm going to make more in that contract than 3/4 of my whole year of working, and I've just done this in my lunch break. And at that moment, I knew I was kind of always in the back of my mind hoping that I would leave, something would happen, and then the thing happened. And I'm really happy with myself that the thing happened, and I did what I told myself internally I was going to do, which was leave. And so, you know, there's lots of learnings and reflection
Sure.
and things that built up to that moment. But when I think about it, and I hear about stories of people leaving their jobs and they're saying that's the hardest thing that they've ever done, it wasn't for me, because I knew that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
There was kind of my family. I know my family and my wife would have been like, he's doing it again. He's going off and doing his own thing. But the thought process was really, you know, I can always come back to this job. I can always get an entry-level job that will never leave. I've like, what is the actual what's the actual pressure here or stress? There actually isn't any. And it was a week later I put my notice in, and I got it expedited because once I've made my decision, get me out of there quick, please. And so that's kind of what led me to the brink and then over it. That's
wonderful. I feel what you just described is the typical entrepreneurial journey. A true entrepreneur will try, I don't want to say fail, maybe fall forward.
Yep.
Keep falling forward, and you find your groove, you find your stride, and it becomes inside you. I think we can share this this feeling of having to wear that lanyard, you know, that anchor of being confined to this something you're going to do for a number of years. You went to school for. Gosh, it's just sets the path for the rest of your life. But an entrepreneur doesn't think that way. That it's just not in the heart and in the mind, because there's always something more and something greater to work on. It's the day-to-day routine is not satisfying.
Yeah,
I think we all share having that educational side of us. We learn new things, we have life experiences, and we want to share them. It's just how to do that in a way that people want to listen to and learn from. That, I think that's the hardest part.
And the wanting to make a difference.
Yes.
Wants to make a difference in the world, and I can identify. I see that you are too, Lewis. And it makes that autopilot of a job even more just unsettling, day after day after day, going in there and thinking my potential is so much greater than what I'm doing. So, I mean, congratulations and kudos to you for actually having the courage to just go for it. You know, I'm curious, what are some challenges or sacrifices that you've made to become a content creator? I mean, have you, since you've decided to take that leap, is there anything that's kind of maybe been a little bit challenging for you in doing so, or has it all been wonderful?
I would say for the most part, it's all been wonderful for me. I do have a 2-year-old daughter and a wife. The wife might have something different to say about that. But no, she's very supportive in a very analytical way, which is actually really useful. I think that there were more challenges on the lead up, to be quite honest. Afterwards, it's quite hard for me to talk about because it's kind of just been bliss. Working as hard as I want all the time. And that's exactly what I want to do. Beforehand, though, there were quite a lot of stresses because I had the work. It wasn't necessarily the work that was hard. It was the putting the landing on every day. It actually was impacting my health.
It's like a weight, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And me, as someone, I was at the time I was competing in jiu-jitsu, so I was in really, really good shape. Top of my peak physical form at that moment. Again, I want that to change, but you know, one day I wasn't feeling very good, and I got out of my bed because I was unusually napping. I never nap. Had a massive temperature, and on my way to the bathroom, I collapsed.
Mm.
And my wife reported it to the doctor as me having a seizure. So I was doing all kinds of stuff, like you know, all the telltale signs of seizing. And bear in mind, I'm at peak health at that point. And I think that's a testament as to what stress can do underneath. Because there was the stress of, you know, I'm going to leave my job, the stress of everyone saying, I can't believe you're leaving your job again, like all of that stuff, and the concept and the thought process of I'm going to be completely reliant on myself. Am I making this decision too early type stuff? And it manifested in my body for the first time in my life, actually failing me. And there's lots of directions I would like to point blame, like the vaccine. But that's a whole other argument and an opinion that's kind of mine.
I think we share it.
Right. Okay.
That
And
happened.
so, you know, there's lots of people very much the same situation as me in terms of age, gender, physical ability, having the same kind of situations. I feel kind of lucky that I came out of that without anything permanently wrong, like lots of other people have. But I can't deny how there'll be lots of reasons why this happened to me. The stress would have been one. That would have been one cup that was overflowing. The vaccine side of things could have been waiting there for the prime opportunity to kind of take me down. And I really took a massive hit in confidence at that point. I'd never felt a hit in confidence before, really, ever. Like I said, peer pressure was never a thing. I didn't care like what other kids thought of me or anything like that. But this impacted me, like the view of myself. I can't be taken down, and then I get taken down, and that was kind of really hard. But
I'm kind of curious about what you just said. Did you have anxiety about having to receive a vaccine? I know this isn't a vaccine discussion, but I'm just kind of curious if that's added to the stress load, because here in the United States, we still had choice. I'm not sure if that was the same where you live, but there was an enormous amount of pressure to receive both shots.
yes.
So was there pressure in that?
It was enormous pressure.
Okay.
But it wasn't mandatory.
Okay.
What happened for me was that I blindly went in for the first one thinking this is what you're supposed to do.
Me too.
And then the second one, I woke up before that. So I only had one of the two. But yeah, I do wonder if like I think it seems like from my side and my story of this is that stress brings out the worst that's in whatever is in you. And I would tend to think that if you've got this vaccine that's untested or anything, if there was going to be any situation or two situations where that would kind of exacerbate itself, the negative side would be stress or being unhealthy. And you can really tie stress into being unhealthy anyway. So,
well, and receiving any kind of medication is a stress to the body. So if you're already under physical stress or mental stress, let's say, which is, I think, the worse than physical stress, then you have this added thing that nobody really knows anything about. There isn't much history on it. And they're asking us to put it in our body and all these things. And it's like a perfect storm. You're having this the stress from leaving a job and now taking this, and I think it creates a perfect storm for an event to happen.
Yeah,
I mean that's what we found happened with these medicines, that they just stressed a body to a point. Some people greater than others. I think everybody had some sort of stress from those.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't relate to how stressful it was on their body. So,
Well,
anyway, go ahead, Melissa. Sorry about that.
You could be completely healthy and still have allergies to certain things. So
Sure.
Personally, I've had previous reactions to the flu vaccine. And so I know that my body would not respond well. And I just wasn't going to take a chance with that. And so I was required to have a vaccine at my job. And I went through this stress of, my God, am I going to lose my job over this? Or am I going to potentially harm myself when I know I'm going to have a reaction? And I actually had to get a doctor's note to explain that, she doesn't do well with vaccines. And thankfully, my employer took that and said, you're fine. And I got an exemption, but I was ready to leave my job because I didn't want to take that risk. So
Stressful.
it
It's
is.
stressful. Yeah.
You just don't know. You can be healthy and you can be allergic to things at the same time. So
I've got a question for you, kind of bring it back home to our topic here. Going back, and I don't know which iteration of YouTube videos. When I went back and looked at, I always try to go back to the earliest videos to see how people have progressed. So that only went back a couple of years for what I was able to find. But I found something in you that changed. There was like a progression, like I don't even want to call it an aha, just the stride changed. And I really enjoyed basically the smorgasbord, if you will, of various topics that you talked about, and especially the life lessons. So where do you think you found your stride, or that change from this is what I'm talking about to now what you're talking about?
Well, I think what goes in my head is, oh, I'm interested in this. And then I do that. And then I'm interested in that now. And then I do that.
Right.
So I think it's very much shiny object syndrome.
It's a good way to put it.
That has developed in me. I'm really trying to model myself after people who kind of want to be like, and the people I want to be like don't have that. They stay on track with things.
Right.
I know I'm fully able to stay on track with something, because I played golf every day for 6 years and I never took a break. So yeah, I know I can stay on track when my interest is there.
Right.
But I might go through a week where I listen to 10 books because I listen to them on 2.5 speed, so I can just get through them all. And I might hear something in one of those books and think, man, I love that thought. Where does my brain go with that? Usually I want to make a video about it. That's usually my initial response. I got to tell people. And so, if it's, oh man, I just watched this amazing show about how to organize your drawer. I love it because I've now organized my whole house and everyone else's houses. I love it because the organization, it was just perfect. I got to tell people about it. And so there was no hesitation. I just got to make a video. And then, I've been in crypto for quite a while, but things pique my interest from time to time. Like, oh, chart reading is just kind of behaviors mapped on a screen. That's really interesting. I minored in psychology, so there's that element of it for me as well. I wonder if there's any ways to kind of read this and read it kind of accurately and predictably. So I get really into that. And so what you see is, as the result is, and I would like to get onto the topic of scale later. But we'll get there.
We would love to hear about that.
So I get really interested in Fibonacci retracements. So using that indicator on a crypto chart. So I think I've got to do this for all of the tokens. I've got to tell loads of people about this because I've got friends asking me about crypto anyway. I'm going to make videos for them very simply because I'm telling everyone, just even offline. So now they're saying, I can't visualize what you're saying. So I'll just make YouTube videos now. That's another reason why the crypto thing started. But, I think the average kind of person who wants to create stuff, they would say, I like this. I want to share it. Let's make a video a week. My brain doesn't work like that. So I said, I'm going to make 3 videos a day and see how long I can do it. Because there's almost infinite amount of tokens that I can do this for. And so I did 3 videos every single day with a full-time job and a family.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's me getting home at 5 o'clock, dinner, 7 o'clock or so till 1 in the morning, wake up at 5, do that again in the morning before I go to work, and it repeats. And there was nothing you could tell me that would make me not do that. So it's very much where my interest goes. And like I said, if that doesn't say, I don't know what does, but my intensity when I do get really interested in about something is kind of hard to compete with. But again, there are benefits to that, in that I got so much done. I was making so many more videos than everyone else in the space. So my growth was like that when everyone else was like that. But the detriment was I was getting 4 hours of sleep a night.
Yes.
And that all builds up to what looks like a seizure.
Yes.
And so
sure does.
You know.
Yeah.
But I can't stop it. I can't help myself.
Right.
I can't. I get on it and I do it. And so yeah, that's kind of how that goes. But yeah, I'd like to talk about scale.
Question before we go to scale. You mentioned in one of your videos that you wished that when you were 18, you bought more Bitcoin. How do you feel about, if you were your 18-year-old self now, what would you be saying to yourself?
I would most certainly, it's a very easy answer for me. I would most certainly be saying, get all 8 hours of sleep. Try to understand your own chemistry and biology. This is what I'm really interested in right now, by the way, if you haven't noticed. So I take things like lion's mane mushroom, just because if you haven't, you've got to. It's a nootropic. So there's some amazing health benefits there for people with Alzheimer's, dementia, because it actually regenerates neurons.
Yes.
And so it has that benefit. It reduces anxiety, gets you hyper focused, and has no side effects. So that's kind of, I wish I'd discovered that earlier. But I think really the most important thing was just get all 8 hours sleep, because you get so much more done in the awake time than you would if you got the 4 or 5 hours sleep that you would get anyway. Because it's all about efficiency, I think, at this point. Like there's nothing that pushes me away from 8 hours sleep now. Because I know the impact of what that means. And I measure it. I have a ring that kind of measures my sleep and throughout the day, my temperature throughout the day. So I'm very on the data. And I know exactly the type of headache that comes from like not enough deep sleep or not enough REM sleep. I know exactly how it feels. So I'm very aware of that. And because I'm very aware of that, I also know how productive or unproductive I am the following day after a bad sleep or a good sleep. So it's very important to me now, all of that. And the other thing, again, I would tell my 18-year-old self is about scale.
Just going to go there. That's a perfect segue.
So the amount of businesses I've had,
you've had a few.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing because every idea I have, every shiny object, there's a business now.
I don't find that, well, you might feel it embarrassing, but being an entrepreneur, I get it.
Yeah,
I've been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. I've done a lot of different things, latched onto one I happen to really like a lot.
right.
And this space has been kind of the replacement love of the last love I had that was almost for 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Please, I don't want to, I want you to keep going on the scale because that's awesome. Love to know more about that.
There's really only there's really only one thing from my experience, based on my level of business right now, which, is limited in the scheme of things, but I'm learning. and I love learning about it, and I will at some point progress to new levels. The one thing that I've really truly understood now is the difference between the businesses I've had before and this one. The only difference is the scale at which I did it. I remember my social media consultancy thing that I had. I was going around to, I think I maybe reached out to about 6 small businesses. That's laughable when I think about it. But I think it's because the way I communicate, or maybe I think I'm generally nice, that I'm not bad at sales. I struggle with hard closing, even though I've had jobs in hard closing, which is good lessons. But when I look back now, and I was going to 6 small businesses to say, can I I'll redo your website, I'll do all your social media, I'll do all of that. I was going to 6 and closing 4. Like, that's crazy. It's really good percentages. And so, for the first time, I was getting reoccurring revenue. Yeah. No one my age was kind of doing that side hustle and actually making some money. I was thinking, man, I'm really good at this, but it's not working. It's not working, or, I can't, this is a struggle for me. I'm not good enough at this. Oh, shiny thing. And I go over to this other shiny thing when I was making money.
Right.
But 6 felt like a lot to me. Like 6 outreaches, cold outreaches felt like a lot. And I stopped. Photography business. I had this, and I was very good at it. I was getting a name for myself in London for food photography. And so I was getting big hotels to invite me in, and I was doing their food photography. I was getting paid. Almost at the point where I didn't even have to do any outreach for that. But I stopped. Shiny thing. Oh, look, let's go over there. And this was a repeating thing. For all the businesses, I would start, make money, and then it was done. And when I think about scale now, the things I've learned about 3 a day, I'm spending all those hours doing something, and they didn't really get any traction. I'll add that as well. Those 3 videos, I think the first 150 videos I put out didn't really breach past 100 views. Like there was no kind of real good feedback at that point.
Was it a quality versus quantity thing?
No, it was just hitting. It was, if you put yourself out there enough at the scale required, you're gonna welcome the opportunities that come to you as a result of that. So, for example, the only reason I got my first 1,000 view video was because I'd put 90 videos out before. One of them was going to do it. One of them was going to get 1,000 views. So I get my 1,000 views, and this whole new wave of people that have just come in and subscribed, they're saying, oh, can you do a video about this? Now I know what the audience wants. So now let's do 3 a day on what the audience wants.
Right.
Huge. And then it's like this. It goes up the steps. You're grinding. Something happens. You take it to the next level. Then you're kind of grinding along there as well.
May I ask you a question? So
yeah.
Do you regret doing the 3 videos a day, or do you think it was necessary to get you to where you're at now?
It was absolutely necessary. You have to put the legwork in, I think, so that the opportunities come to you. It's kind of like the thing my dad always used to say in golf is, the more you practice, the better you get. The luckier you get, sorry. And it's true. You're going to get luckier if you've got more stuff out there. You have to get really lucky to put 1 video out and then hope that does well. That has to be really lucky. But you reduce your requirement for luck by just doing it at scale. So if I was closing 60 to 80% of my social media consultancy meetings, and really I only reached up to 6 and I was selling 4, but it's really crazy. Why didn't I think at that time, let's do 600?
Right.
And really,
did
if I
you
don't
really
get
enjoy it though? I mean, did you enjoy making people's websites and doing all of that for them, or do you find that you're enjoying what you're doing now much better than that?
I enjoy this considerably more now.
I would say that's probably why you didn't go out and get more social media agency accounts.
Yeah. I agree. What I was in love with was business.
Yes.
Um, and as I've said, kind of like the theme for me that I'm realizing is creativity and business together. I've just kind of fallen into this niche that I'm invested with my time and with my interest, but also financially. I'm also financially invested in this area as well. So it's kind of there's lots of interest for me around this topic, but underneath all of that is my desire to create, educate, and do business.
Well, you're doing a great job, and you can see where that transition point was in your work.
Absolutely.
I've noticed that there was a shift in just even studio presence. When did that happen? It seems as though you have a very nice studio now. Things look very polished, professional. When did that transition take place?
I had enough of putting out low video quality videos. Like I was a film guy and a photography guy, so I know what a good shot looks like. And I know how to do it too. And I was not representing that in any of what I was doing. It was actually not requested by anyone. I just had to have that for my sanity to show that I've got this skill that no one knows about. I can do it. And it costs. Obviously, it costs to get the studio set up. But it's very actually bare bones. So if I zoomed the camera out just slightly, you would see how
right.
like not like an impressive studio it is. It's just like a bedroom just renovated.
Sure. I think most are like that.
Yeah. It's just what's in the frame is what matters.
Right.
But yeah, the jump up happened purely because I couldn't face looking at my videos anymore. I wanted to see it how I thought it should be in my head. That was purely my own decision. And even to this day, the last video I put out was me filmed here with nothing in the background. And it got views because I was excited about it. That's really all that matters.
Yeah.
The production value increase was purely me wanting that for me. And actually it's been there is a way to look at that as being a detriment to the growth of things as well. Because as soon as people see that stuff, they go, "Oh, he's too big for his boots now," kind of thing. And it's we like the old Lewis. It's like you have no idea how many old Lewises there are on the internet.
I watched that video where you said, we got to talk. This is how things are going to go down from here on out. I'm going to put out things that I believe in. And I really respect that. And I personally think that is what's made your channel so much better and growing. And, because you're very authentic, and passionate about the topics, and it comes across in all of your content. So yeah, I thought it was really great. And I loved how you actually explained it to your audience too. So,
well, there was a book that I read.
Of course it was.
Yeah, but it's wisdom. It's people's condensed wisdom from their whole life's learnings, and I can learn it in a few hours. It was it's like something along the lines of building businesses from 0 to 1 million to sell. So this guy had repeated this process over and over. You just kind of you get into a niche, solve a problem, sell it very quickly. And a lot of what I've talked about today is from these little wisdom nuggets. But these wisdom nuggets that happen, I've made a conscious effort recently to kind of take the information and then take action. Because if you just take the information, it makes yourself feel good. I just read 10 books this week.
Right.
But if you don't do anything about it, you're not actually kind of advancing at all.
I think that goes with the spirit. Melissa and I talk quite a bit about learn, teach, learn. That's basically the cycle of life, and also of a successful entrepreneur. And that's all I'm hearing from you, is you've got that cycle. The other thing that struck me is when you had mentioned that you had a social media coach and had recommended go out and talk to some businesses and offer, a social media agency, so to speak. And I was kind of smiling inside, because I think a lot of people start down that road when they go into social media. I know that's one of the roads that it was suggested I approach too, and had similar feelings as you, is that it just wasn't exciting to go into the hairstylist salon or whatever, and can I build your website for you? And I could see that you need some improvement, or you need a website in general, and it just wasn't exciting. But that's I think it has something to do with going out and doing it, but it's not the end all. It's the stepping stone to the next place. As you see people in the social media space, they all started similarly, and they saw that next bright, shiny object, if you will, and went for it. And then you finally find the one that you really like.
Yeah, and on that point, I like this, but
Yes.
this is like step one on the journey.
Sure. I can't wait to see what step 2 looks like.
Oh, look, I've got so many plans, and actually plans that are starting to come into like action. We're actually starting to move things. It's causing quite a bit of stress for me, because I don't think my audience is going to enjoy it. But I don't want what I'm currently doing to ever feel like that.
Right. Yes.
So right now, I feel like, and this is the most honest I'll be online, I feel like in the lanyard, kind of if this is from 0 to 100, I'm about here. Okay. And I'm noticing that in myself. And so, I've been the last month or so, not frantically, but I've had ideas that I've just kind of let sit aside so I can focus on the channel. That I can't keep to the side anymore. They're within the same area. Like, we're not completely shiny object thinging, doing that. Like, it's not going completely off. It's actually making what I offer better and better suited to me as a person. And then also offering I'll tell you what it is. It's so basically, I know that in this transition, we're at the bottom of a bear market right now, or at least it seems. When there's a bull market, the interest in crypto skyrockets.
Sure.
And so the way I came into this space was trying to help complete beginners on, like, how do I make sense of all this craziness? And it's just natural that as I start that journey and I learn, my content adapts and advances and becomes deeper and becomes research-based. And it gets to this point where when nothing's happening, what can I teach? There's like I've gone through everything, and specifically about XRP, for example. The audience is very passionate about that.
Right.
But there's only so much you can learn about XRP.
Right.
Like, I feel like I almost know how to code the XRP ledger at this point. It's like ridiculous. There's nothing that I can teach people. And I don't want to be the guy who just regurgitates news. So what do I do here? All I know is that when there's something complex, I can break it down for someone who's not at that level. And I can do that pretty well, honestly, and in full form. I don't do very well with scripts. It just comes out my head and I say it. So bearing in mind that those are my strengths, and that we're about to have this massive wave of beginners into this space who know nothing and need to turn around their understanding quickly.
Yes.
I've got to actually focus on those people, because I will make the greatest impact per individual by focusing on those who need the fast track. without the emotional kind of roller coaster of scrolling through TikTok or YouTube at times. You know, there's a game that content creators have to play to mold the thumbnail, mold the title to get a click, because ultimately the click dictates how much money you make. And if it's your job, you've kind of got to play the game, but then you've also got to deliver on the content, which that's when it becomes an issue when you don't, right? That's called clickbait. But if you can have a clickbait title and a thumbnail, but then deliver,
Right.
it looks like clickbait for those who haven't watched, but those who watched got real value.
Right.
So I don't think that's necessarily conducive to effective learning for beginners, because it makes them play this emotional roller coaster that you can just remove and look at unbiased factual information that's solid, like cannot be refuted with. Because a lot of what we say in when you're in deep niches, you can say things that people disagree with.
Right.
But if you define blockchain, you can't disagree with that, because that's the definition of blockchain, right?
Right.
And so coming at it from the beginner's side and really being the only player who's focused on these people, because no one's focusing on them. They all want their own bags to grow. They're all focused on kind of arguing with each other about what they know that other people don't. How about let's not forget about those who are going to be forgotten when the bull run comes, and offer something there that is real, valuable, and gives them at least a shot, because we know that they come in at the wrong times, the beginners. At least give them a shot to have the understanding to make the correct moves when everything starts going up. And none of that even needs to get close to financial advice, which is great.
Right.
Because
True.
this is definitions. What is blockchain? What is the potential? You know, part of the program that's going to be coming out is how to actually do research. Like, I think people don't know how to do it in the first place.
That's true.
And so building that framework for people, I think, is going to be incredibly valuable. And that's like the next step. I don't know where that goes, but it's going to be bigger than the channel. And hopefully it will live on its own. It won't even require the audience to kind of feed it.
Right.
And that will be kind of the first fully fledged actual business that
That's
operates
fabulous.
without.
It almost sounds like 2020, and you're preparing a class of 2024 of newcomers coming in. And in 2020 was all the craze too, which is coming off of a bear market going into going into a bull market, and pandemic hit the whole bit, and things just went crazy. Crypto this, crypto that. And now with the recent crash of last year, FTX, nobody really wants to go there too much. It's Bitcoin, not crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's gonna wane, and there's going to be that new class coming in, as you say. And I think it's a great idea what you want to do, because a lot of people got wrecked in the previous cycle. So
And I love the fact that you want to teach people how to research, and
yes.
that's kind of our goal with our radio station, vitabroadcastnetwork.com. And we have we're building a resource page, and in content that we provide, we're trying to provide the source links to the information, because it's not about, you know, us or you being the keeper of the information. We really just to share it with folks and have them learn how to do this thing for themselves, so that we're all educated. And so I really respect what your plans are for that, and I look forward to seeing how that comes out. You know, I think that's fantastic.
And you've already scaled, so getting that message out there, I think, will be well received, and you'll have newcomers coming on and starting to follow you as well, because you have that framework behind you.
Yes.
Maybe we'll link to it on our website, to your educational resources.
Hey,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, that I mean, that's wonderful. I do worry. I worry that my audience won't be happy with that. just because it's not targeted at them anymore. But what I'm trying to also say, there's a whole strategy to it. Basically, my short form content platforms, that will all be focused on beginners, because I think that's where the traps for beginners are set anyway.
Yeah.
Low attention span, bad information, emotional content. So that's kind of what I'm doing on short form already. I mean, my last 5 videos are all around this strategy now, and they will be for the foreseeable. But YouTube, if I want to go and play golf, I'm going to make a video about golf and post it there. Like my channel is going to be the home for whatever I'm interested in. So if that this week is this abstract concept about XRP, I'll make a video about it. If it's about golf, I'm going to make a video about golf. If it's about jiu-jitsu, I'm going to do it about jiu-jitsu. I'm going to post about whatever I want on YouTube. That's the kind of worry, because people didn't sign up to watch me go and play golf. But if I want to remain sane and actually have this as a long-term project, or basically a way to document my progress through business and creativity, I've got to allow myself the opportunity to post things that are going to make me want to post. Like at some point, I don't want to post about loads of XRP stuff that we've already gone over 100 times.
Right.
Well, you're doing something that many creators don't want to do, or maybe don't feel given themselves permission to do, but every one of us have different interests. It's just whether we want to bring it to the level of telling the public about it. And so I think your message will be well received. You might upset some people, and you can't make everybody happy all the time, right? You've got to make Lewis happy. But I think the message will be there is that, hey, Lewis does this. He provides wonderful information that that will benefit my life. If it's something it resonates with me, but he's authentic, and he's not sitting in a chamber just talking about and studying XRP all day long. He plays golf, he does jujitsu, he's a family man. There's all of these things that make up Lewis Jackson, and many people don't reveal that part of their life about themselves.
And you know what else? There's the wolves are going to come out here pretty quick. And like you said, there's going to be a lot of newbies, and they're going to need a place to go to get some quality information that's not trying to rug pull them and, FOMO them into things. And so it's going to be great to have a channel that you can direct people to that's trusted. Because there's a flood of information out there, and not all the folks involved in the crypto digital asset space, my light just fell down. They're not all good. So I look forward to seeing what you come out with.
Thank you. It's very much like the big concern on my brain right now. Maybe we do this another interview in like a year's time to see kind of what's progressed. But the big concern for me right now is trying to push this really good information out there, but also balance it, completely understanding that this is a business and it has to make money too.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of the time, like the ideal person to be sharing information and education is someone who does lots of it and they do it all for free. But from a business standpoint, at least up to this point, I haven't learned that, that I hear lots of people way above me in the millions, business people in the millions, talk about give away your best stuff for free. I haven't actually got over that hurdle in my mind yet. So right now I'm struggling to comprehend how I make it a business and deliver on the kind of the wholesome, good information. For me, I feel like I need to find a balance for now, or just make some sort of decision on whether I'm going to be charging or not.
Well, yeah, I think that's a truth statement right there. Giving away your best for free, but there's a cost of entry to get there. It's not quite revealed. It may be an ebook or something like that. But here you've revealed the top secrets, but what's not revealed is how to get there.
Mm.
Well,
I think that's where a lot of the revenue is made. So hey, I'll tell you everything, but there's some things I'm just not sharing in this little 15-minute, half an hour, 1 hour video that I'm going to let it all out because the how-tos are not there.
Yeah, that's true.
We have about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
And what would you like to share with us that we haven't talked about?
I just think I'm on a big train of thought right now. I had a one-on-one consultation with someone 2 days ago, and their first comment to me was, "Oh man, I've always wanted to do YouTube. I'm really happy for you." And I was like, "Why haven't you done it?" He said, "I don't have anything interesting to say." I said, "What's your job?" And he like cleans. He's an engineer, but he cleans tunnels and I was like, that's really interesting to people who find that really interesting. And so he really, and I don't know how many of these you've seen on TikTok, but there's people who do some of the craziest, like most boring jobs, getting millions of views, just recording them doing their job because it looks satisfying, especially cleaning things. Like there's these people who clean rugs and it looks incredibly satisfying. I say all of that to say is that all the reasons why you don't start something is purely the limit you're putting on yourself. Like it's no one from outside, it's only yourself.
That's true.
So the absolute hardest thing to do is the first thing you have to do, which is hit record on the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you just keep doing that at scale.
I think people get hung up on, gee, I'm going to trip over my words. I'm not going to look right. Oh, look at my big nose. All of these certain things that nobody really cares about. What they want is the information. They want authenticity.
Yep. And there's only one person in the world who can be like you. So
that's right.
You are your own niche.
Exactly. Yes. I think that's goes to the spirit of give your $1 million secret away, because that $1 million secret was generated by that person, right? But to go ahead and duplicate it 100% is almost impossible. So they may not get the $1 million result of the creator who made it. Mm-hmm. It's just the beauty of business and the way it works. And that's why you have to step into your authentic self, I believe, and create your own niche.
Yeah, you got my mind going there.
There's 8 billion people out there. I mean, you're gonna attract somebody, right?
That's right. That's right.
Wow. Louis, this has been a fabulous interview, and I just love where the discussion went. And thank you so much for your time today.
I really appreciate the conversation as well, both of you.
We'd love to have you back.
We're going to have you back in a year.
Yeah, we'll see where the business is at, where my mindset's at, and it'll be actually a good little time hop to see.
That would be great. We'll have some clips, and then we'll. That's great. Awesome. Louis, thank you so much. Appreciate you being on Beyond the Brink.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
Great rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well, that was a wonderful interview.
It sure was. Well, folks, we're coming up to the end of the show, and we appreciate Louis being here. You can find this interview and other shows that we've done on thevitabroadcastnetwork.com. And you can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, most of the social media channels, and we're continuing to grow there. So until the next time, have a great day.
See you next time.